little while ago, so thank you for coming. Please, everyone, silence your mobile devices if you got any. I'd like to start with invocation. Commissioner Grindstaff, you could ask the invocation for it, please.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us today. We thank you for your love and your mercy today that has sustained us throughout this day. Thank you for all the good things in our life that we so often take for granted. Father, that seems so easy for us that are so difficult for some. We are very fortunate and we bless your name. Thank you for Mitchell County, part of our blessing in life, where we live, among who we live upon. We pray your blessings upon our citizens, especially those who are hurting and struggling tonight, whatever the reason for life they do. Guide our thoughts, intentions, and actions this evening, and may everything we do be done with the right motivation and pure motives in our life. Love you. We thank you for Jesus most of all. He died for our sins and gave us the opportunity to have eternal life. Yes, this is his precious name.
Please, stand, salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone, please make Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add under discussion, items for discussion, 12E, the occupancy tax resolution.
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion carries. So on your agenda, please add item number 12B for what is it?
E.
Oh, sorry, 12E. Oh. For occupancy tax resolution. Anything else additional to this evening? Hearing none, do I have a move we adopt the agenda? So moved.
Second.
All in favor, vote the usual sign. Do I have a motion carried? Do I have a motion to approve the last 4 meetings there? So moved. Second? And a second. All in favor, vote the usual sign. Motion carries. Item number 9 this evening is a public hearing for our budget for the fiscal year of 2022 and 2023. I have a motion that we open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, vote the usual sign. Anyone here have any comments on the budget for fiscal year 2022 or 2023? Hearing nothing, to have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, vote the usual sign. Motion carries. Item number 10A this evening is reports and presentations. Employee of the month. So tonight we're unfortunately, Mr. Watson couldn't be here this evening. Nick works in our maintenance department. Nick Watson. He is our Mitchell County Employee of the Month winner for May of 2022. It's with great pleasure to congratulate Nick Watson for being selected as a Mitchell County Employee of the Month winner for May. The safety of our employees and citizens and maintaining our buildings and properties are critical for providing ongoing services to all within the county. You've been nominated for the Employee of the Month award by multiple departments for always providing prompt service on maintenance issues that are both routine and unexpected. You consistently show up with a positive attitude and never complain regardless of what the work entails or the size of a job. The county's department appreciates all of your hard work and your dedication to the job, ensuring that their work areas are in operating order. You don't have to be asked to arrive earlier than scheduled for weather-related tasks such as removal of snow, scraping, salting sidewalks, and steps to ensure the safety of our employees and the citizens. Your strong work ethic, trustworthiness, reliability, is always willing to help others, both on the job and off the job, doesn't go unnoticed by all. Congratulations again on behalf of the county commissioners of Mitchell County. We thank you for making a difference with the departments and their citizens. So let's give Mr. Watson a hand. Get that for you. We appreciate that. Item number 10B is the tax collection. Evening.
You have in front of you the collections activity report for May. The total collected for the month is $78,832.29. You'll see the ending balances out there per year. An update on foreclosure proceedings. The first 25 that have been sent. There's 13 on pay plans. 5 people have paid in full. And Attorney Grindstaff has 6, which I was informed today, there's going to be 1 that's going to be paid, 1 more is paying off. And then there's 1 at the courthouse. So I've already started on the next set. And that next set is from $6,000 to $4,000 range.
Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Jason. Appreciate that.
And then our collection rate as of today, 97.75. We're hoping that 0.25% this month or exceed.
That's great.
We're trying.
Questions? Thank you very much. Item number 10C tonight is, we've got a presentation from Miss Tanya, Blue Ridge Hospital. Hello. Good evening.
So thank you, number one, for letting me come tonight and speak to you. I've given you 2 items, a PowerPoint presentation, as well as a letter of support that looks like this. So those should be on your, in front of you.
You got it.
Okay, so we have Mission Hospital recently has gone for a 67-bed addition to Mission Hospital, and that's the reason that I'm here. I'm wanting to give you some additional information about it, as well as ask you to consider signing a letter of support for this hospital. So if you'll just turn through your presentation with me. Our mission statement, of course, is above all else, we are committed to the care and improvement of human life. And you can see on the first, or actually it's slide 2, all the different hospitals represented there by mission. Of course, Blue Ridge is a part of that. And then you can see the various locations. We do serve 18 counties as a whole. So I just wanted to give you that geographical area. On slide 3, you'll see that the primary and specialty care that you're able to get here close to home, those are the services that at Blue Ridge Regional Hospital we offer. I'm not going to go over every single one of them, but obviously I think everyone knows we have an acute care, an ED, and then we have support services such as imaging lab. We have cardiology, physical therapy, infusion center, many other things. Also, we have a swing bed program. We offer women's care, podiatry, pharmacy, orthopedics, general surgery, a lot of different things that we do offer at our hospital. And of course, I'm sure most of y'all know we've been there since 1955, so longstanding in the community. If you go to the next page on slide 4, as you know, because we are a smaller hospital, a critical access hospital, we generally would, transfer to Mission whenever we need some higher level of care that we're not able to provide for our patients. So just wanted to give you some information on the innovative medicine and advanced things that are going on there. We do have a level 2 trauma center there. We do have the air emergency transport that I mentioned previously, serving the 18 counties. Also, we have Children's Hospital Pediatrics and Level 3 Nurse NICU. The Cancer Institute, Sarah Cannon, also #1 survival rate in North Carolina for patients experiencing a heart attack, and a comprehensive stroke center. So we offer a lot of comprehensive services for the region. And then on slide 5, you'll see that we do have a history of excellence. There's many accolades. I won't go over them all. The most recent one was the Leapfrog A for hospital safety grade. And you can see there's 8 awards under the 100 Best and Patient Safety Excellence Award for 2022. Mission is a Magnet Hospital, and Blue Ridge is a Pathways to Excellence hospital. So quality is very important to our organization. So to talk a little bit about the reason that I'm here, you'll see on slide 6 that the certificate of need for the acute care beds. So Buncombe, Madison, Yancey, and Graham County are the counties that this is really impacting. And you'll see at the top where Mission Hospital, and there's a box around it, shows that there is a need for 67 beds additional there in Buncombe County. So you're like, well, why does this matter to me? Well, so there's a lot of reasons that it matters. So, this is derived from a formula that they come up with. And really the beds that are needed are critical beds that when we need a patient to get transferred for a higher level of care, we will be able to do that. And historically, since COVID, we have had some, issues with being able to transfer due to the capacity of the patients that they've had and being full at Mission Hospital. So how are we going to utilize those acute care beds? If you'll go to slide 7. So there's Mission Hospital has the need for more beds with higher acuity, and those, of course, are your intensive care, specialty services such as stroke, trauma, neurosurgery, open heart, oncology, pediatric critical care, and neonatal ICU. Many of these services require advanced surgery and timely access to ensure survival of the patient. And there's no other hospital in Western North Carolina that's capable of providing this complex level of care. And all hospitals in Western North Carolina transfer patients to Mission Hospital for this level of care. In 2021, there was Western North Carolina hospitals in total transferred 16,733 patients to Mission Hospital. So that's why it's vital that we support this, because we really need a place to be able to send our patients whenever we need a higher level of care. If you turn to slide 8, this is about the bed shortage, which could negatively impact the smaller hospitals in Western North Carolina. Lack of access to care close to home. In 2021, Mission was unable to accept 2,444 transfers from referring hospitals due to lack of capacity, as I mentioned previously. And 268 of those were from Blue Ridge. So we preferred to send to Mission Maine, but we're not able to because they were at capacity. So we had to send outside of our area, our region, and sometimes hours away. There were patients that needed trauma, heart, general surgery, COVID, and other serious illnesses that we were not able to care for. Patients were transferred, like I said, further from their home. We transferred some to other states. As Bryant knows, and the EMS services, the ER hold times have increased, which is impacting EMS. Whenever the crews go down, sometimes they have delays in being able to offboard their patients or our patients and getting them, settled into a bed before they can leave and then get back into the area. So it's really, again, that's another thing with capacity. If we had capacity where the beds are needed, then we could move the patients to the inpatient setting and not have to have those holdups in the ED. So if you look, the next page is about capacity. And if you look, or occupancy, if you look on slide 9, of the 1,169 patients that we admitted at Blue Ridge in 2021, 44 were from Mitchell County, but 45 were from Yancey County. So it's really important that we keep our patients closer to home. And what this slide will show you is if you look down at the Blue Ridge Regional section at the bottom, or near the bottom, in 2018, we had the occupancy of 12.6%. In 19, it went up to 26.1. In 2020, it was 22.4. And then in 2021, it was 27.5. So what that shows is that we are keeping patients more so than we would be transferring them down to Mission. So any patient we can keep is the goal, to keep them in the community, because we realize everybody wants to stay close to home as long as it's the right accommodation. So we transferred, of those 1,169, which, well, actually not of those, but we actually transferred 775 patients to Mission for complex and specialized care in 2021. So that was from ED and inpatient side. So my ask is, and the reason that it's so important is because Advent Health is trying to build a newer hospital in Upper or North Buncombe County, which will impact this hospital. It will not only impact us in the fact that we will be competing for patients, but could potentially be competing for staff. And so the hospital that they would be building would not have the level of service and complexity and acute services that's needed for the region. And so we're bringing it to you and to your attention because it's very important that we keep our hospital in our community. It's vital to everyone in this community. If you'll turn to slide 10, I just wanted to review some of the high level things that have happened, and I think is real important to know. So since 2019, there has been almost 16 million of capital infused into Blue Ridge Regional Hospital through newer technologies, facility infrastructures. We're getting a new MRI unit, which is close to $3 million. Endoscopes, laser equipment for urology, echo machines for your heart, PFTs for breathing, to check your breathing, rapid sterilization to clean our OR instruments, nuclear medicine workstation to do cardiac stress testing studies, HVAC upgrade, generator replacement, parking lot pavement. That's just some of the ones that are important to mention. There's many, many more things that we've gotten with that money. Also that we've gotten, or that we have 5 specialty clinics, which I did mention some of them earlier, but I think this is very critical because I've worked in many other rural settings and rural hospitals, and we've never been able to offer the level of services that are offered at Blue Ridge. We have general surgery, urology, women's ortho, and cardiology that comes and has a clinic at the Mossie Phillips Center and is available to everyone on the timeframes that they're there. We also have an interventional radiology service through our radiology department that is becoming more robust. They're there 5 days a week. And then we have 10 telehealth programs. So mentioned earlier about potentially, competing for those nurses. It's been really a challenge to recruit during this time. What happened during COVID happened not just with the hospital, happened across the nation with most everybody's business. We saw nurses that decided to retire early. We saw nurses that decided to just change their profession altogether, go into a different kind of nursing. We have many different programs that you can see there where we're growing our own. We do alternative models of care where we have paramedics now in our ED. We're looking to bring back LPNs back into the hospital. Academic partnerships are very vital for us right now. We've worked with some other colleges to help them with getting their own professors and instructors so that we can offer more openings for nursing students to come in, so that we have more nurses that are being put out. And then in the year of 2021 alone, we hired 98 people. We still have 26 openings. So I wanted to bring that before you all. Just wanted you to know that I'm here to fight for not only Mission, to get the certificate of need, but also to sustain Blue Ridge Regional Hospital for years to come. So I've given you a letter of support. If you would be interested in signing that, I would be happy to pick it up either tonight, or I can arrange to pick it up at a later date. Or if you want me to send you an electronic copy and you can make changes to it, that would be okay as well.
Tony, just a quick question from me, and I'm slow, so just bear with me, but so Blue Ridge Mission, of course, is bought out by HCA.
Right.
But so like when we're going through all this, everything we talked about is around Blue Ridge and Mission.
Mhm.
So when does that? And Mission has got a very, little halo over the top of it, and everybody likes Mission. HCA, the devil. So help me understand, I guess, why we're not talking about the HCA piece of this.
So I guess everybody sees it from a different lens. I have worked for several for-profit entities. They're competitors at the corporate level. And I have to say that HCA is the best company that I've worked for a for-profit entity. And I'm not just saying that because I work for them because they pay my check. I'm being totally honest with you.
And I've heard that from people that's worked there. I guess so you're not the first person I've heard say that.
And I think, and I mean, they have so much that they brought to this organization, not only the capital monies that I've mentioned previously, but we didn't send anybody home during COVID. We let everyone come to work. There was no other company that I know of as far as the hospital is concerned that allowed that to happen. We invest in our people any way that we can. We invest in quality and safety. There's so many things that they bring to the table in that regard. So I think the media maybe has given information, that may, I guess, influence people as far as how they feel about HCA. But truthfully, if it was a freestanding hospital and we were faced with COVID, I'm not sure that the doors would be open today. They've been that important to our organization.
Well, it's definitely very important to me for our community to continue to
Yes.
have the service we've had at in our community hospital. I guess I'm having a hard time. Why do they still use the brand name of Mission and not HCA though? Why would they still call it? Because are we
We
not moving?
typically do use HCA on everything, but I think for purposes of everybody being able to associate Mission Health, Sandra's with me here tonight. She's over our strategy team for the whole division.
Good strategy.
And Sandra, I mean, you can speak to that, I guess.
It's 10 years, right, or something like that. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Ms. Sale, why would a private entity, be seeking the input in any manner of a governing body, of a public governing body? I guess I'm having a hard time trying to follow.
I think
No.
it's important that our elected officials support what we're trying to accomplish because it does impact our community, and I feel like we're responsible for that.
I don't disagree, but I mean, we're talking about a private company building beds at a facility that they own and operate, so.
So there's a competitor that's trying to build beds with a freestanding hospital in North Buncombe County. So the CON could be awarded to Mission, or it could be awarded to a freestanding hospital. Should the freestanding hospital be selected, then it's going to directly impact Blue Ridge, our hospital.
So these beds are being added with public funds, is that?
No.
So
No
I'm
public
just not
funds.
following. I'm sorry. I guess I'm slower than Commissioner Pittman.
Maybe it's the Pittmans, I don't know. The two Pittmans. We're the slowest, we're the slow two of this group here.
I just can't follow the motive. I mean, if I run a
I'm
business.
just seeking support, that's all.
thank you for that clarification.
And we're very thankful, I mean, for what Mission has done and for this community for many, many years, you know. It's very nice to be able to, if you have any trouble, to drive up there and to Spruce Pine and, you know, I just want to make sure we're, you know, getting, always thinking about our community first. And I understand what you're saying with
And I'll give you guys time to read through this, and if somebody wants to maybe collect it, and I can touch base with one of you all tomorrow.
yeah, I think
That
it'd
would be
a good
better than
idea.
trying to collect them right now, but I just wanted to fight for my hospital, our hospital, your hospital.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you.
thank
For your
you.
time.
Yeah, I do have one question.
Yes,
So with the current staff shortages, do you think that they will have the staff to take care of the patients in these extra 67 beds?
Yes, we will make sure. I mean, what we typically do right now, we review labor weekly. So depending on, it's all, we look at it by volume. So depending on, like, if we needed, even if we were to get additional travelers to cover those beds, that's what would have to happen. And fortunately, in that regard, we've seen nurses that might have left. We didn't lose very many, but some of the other hospitals in the region did. And so we've started to see, with COVID numbers going down and travel assignments going down, nurses coming back. That's good.
Timing on this, if, you know, getting letters of support and submitting it to the state for the application, what's the timing around the
I would-
contract being awarded and then building the actual?
So I'd like to get the letters of support by Wednesday, and you can give him, I guess, the information on your timeline.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you guys for the
Thank you.
information. We
Thank you for
appreciate
letting
it.
me come tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very
Uh,
much. Next item on the agenda this evening is item number 10D. It's the EMS update by Mr. Bradley.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. So it's been a few months since I've been up here. Let's recap just to give everyone situation awareness where we're sitting at right here. So last time I was in here, we were short 4 positions from being fully staffed. And since then, it's been a fun few months. We lost 4 full-time road medics. Just for clarity on reason for that, 2 of them went on contract deployments, which we or no one around here could compete with on what they got contracts for. 1 went out for a military deployment, and 1 had a positional change, so they came off the truck. Since then, I am happy to say that we got our military deployment back. We've hired 3 new full-time medics, and we got 1 full-time transfer. So we're actually sitting better than we were last time. So we've fully recovered and actually gained 1. Now, as far as vacancies, we have 1 24-hour position and 2 12-hour positions vacant. Those are being staffed right now. The past 3 weeks, we've had 100% of our positions filled between the full-time, some of them picking up overtime shifts and part-time staff. So we've been fully staffed, filling all positions for 3 weeks now. Looking forward at the next 3 weeks or the rest of the whole month of June, actually, we've got 97% of all shifts covered. And so that doesn't include, you know, filling the gaps between now and then. So staffing wise, we're sitting pretty good. We're also got interviews we're setting up for about 2 weeks from now, with 1 full-time job offer already out and another full-time candidate being interviewed in 2 weeks. So I think staffing wise, given the current national and state issues where a lot of EMS services are still struggling, we're still recruiting, we're still improving, and morale is better than anywhere around. So huge plus there. Also on staffing, we've actually been pulling in, as y'all are aware, we have 3 units during the day, 2 units at night. We've actually been staffing some nights a 3rd truck based on the needs of the community. We normally do a check-in with the hospital if there's, an extra number of transports or it's been a busy day, I throw an extra truck on during the night just to help offset that, to make sure everyone gets the truck when they need it. Looking at call volume, we have seen a big uptick. So we're looking at about right now, based on averages, we haven't got a full year in yet, but we're doing about 6.8% increase in total call volume. Between December and January, that 1 month, we saw a 21% increase in 1 month. Over the next 3 months following that, it dropped 26%. But then between April and May, we actually had a 37.5% increase in 1 month, and we kind of got slammed there. So the last month or so has been pretty rough. If you see any of the team, please let them know. Thank you. And dispatch and all other emergency services and the hospital too, we've all been getting hit pretty hard. So that increased volume is there. It's something to be noted of, but we are trending pretty steadily in the upward direction. I've also been reviewing some hospital transports, as Ms. Hale just reported on, and I've got some more numbers on that. So overall, looking at a 2-month moving average from last August to now, all the transports that, just looking at how much we take out of Blue Ridge, this could be people discharged home to a nursing facility or to anywhere. If they started at the hospital, went somewhere, we're up 40% from last August on 2-month moving average, just on that alone. If you look at just interfacility transports, I know Tanya just spoke about how that number's been going up. Our numbers show a 17% increase in the 2-month moving average from last August to now. So these numbers are boosting up. We've talked about the contract before and that limitation with that. We've been making executive decisions on the fly with some cases when there's not available beds at Mission, or sometimes it's been a little bit over 60. And we've made the judgment calls based on what we feel the resources are available and what the patient needs, because we want to make sure we get our citizens and our patients where they need to go. Now, granted, we ain't taking 10-hour road trips across the country or anything, but if there's a way to do it, and I've called in additional trucks when needed just to get some of these patients to where they go. So there is an increased demand there. It's trending upwards, and I don't know what next month will hold or what the future months will hold, but it's been a steady overall increase on that. So volume is going up. Another update on current status is we've talked before about automated CPR devices. So we do have our first automated CPR device in. It technically is, they're letting us demo it because there's a few different models, but we've got it in service. We have actually deployed it on, I think, 3 or 4 cardiac arrests already. We've trained the whole service on it, so it is actually in rotation. Our goal is to have 2 in rotation by mid to late summer and have one on all 3 trucks by the end of the year. And these do cost, $15,000 to $17,000 each. So we're trying to get them as we can, but that is something we want to get. I wanted to give y'all an update on that. We said we were going to get them, and we're following through on that. Looking forward, some updates also. Y'all have also been informed of our special operations division that we've been working on. So an update on that. We have spoken with a law group that specializes in this area, and we will be moving forward with developing a nonprofit branch out of ours company that will house these special operations. It'll open us up to some funding opportunities so that we can provide the tactical community paramedicine and search and rescue medical operations to the community. And we have a plan to make it sustainable to where it won't cost the community. So that is our game plan. I wanted y'all to let you know we were moving forward with that. And that is going to be a big deal. It's drawing some attention in the positive way. Also with that call volume, just an awareness for the board moving forward. If this trend, I've already been looking at the numbers and the workload and what we call unit hour utilization, which is pretty much percentage of the time people are working on the shift and doing calls and paperwork and et cetera, because there is a fatigue issue in the emergency services. So looking at that, if the call volume keeps increasing, there's going to be a need in the next couple of years to possibly look at taking that 12-hour truck and making it 24 around the clock to facilitate that. It's not something I think we're at the point of needing right now, so it's not an urgent need, but I want to make y'all aware of this so we can plan ahead, because when we do, you're likely going to have another facility to house a crew 24 hours, because we don't have that room in our current base. So that's going to be the need for a new base, which we all know with materials and building right now, that is a big cost. So maybe something we can start having talks on, looking out in the years to come, that we need to start planning on. Not an urgent need, but I want to get y'all ahead of the curve before it sneaks up on us and bites us or anything. And we can talk about that at a later time. I just want to bring awareness to that. One other thing, or two other things, I've spoken with some about this. This community is heavily involved, and I love it. But the downside for us is that there are a lot of festivals, there are a lot of events, and we get requested to come to a lot of them. And I want to be there, but we are providing a 911 service. So moving forward, I wanted to get y'all's thoughts on if it's a county public event, or if the county puts it on, possibly just saying we'll cover it. If it's a private event, then we can possibly look at doing, okay, we'll go to it, but they're not dedicated. So if a call comes out, we're running the call, or pay additional, and we'll bring in extra staff in the spare unit and dedicate a unit, but there will be a cost to offset the equipment and hourly wages on that. I didn't know y'all's thoughts on that, but there's a lot of events.
You know, Brian, I would say, just like if you came to a county event, you shouldn't be expected to be there if a call comes in.
Well,
I mean, if a
that's
call
where the
comes in, you gotta
dedicated,
go.
that's where the dedicated is. It's not taking a 911 truck away.
Right.
It's bringing extra people that weren't scheduled to work in to go to that event. So some events actually prefer that when they get so big. I don't know if there's certain regulations, but some of them have to have medical
And
standards.
is that kind of, I guess where I'm struggling is that scenario you just gave us, is that just for PR purposes that they want you there, or do they want you there to cover that event in case of a medical emergency?
I think sometimes a little bit of both.
It's a tough call, man. I mean, that's,
Isn't that we got to decide tonight? But I just
yeah,
wanted
I
to be
mean,
there.
I'm just like, I
Yeah.
guess I'm struggling with the fact that anybody would expect you not to leave and take a call, even if it's a spare unit or an extra team that you brought in just for that purpose.
Well, when it gets to a certain level, it's good to have a dedicated function, because the odds of something happening are pretty high. So that's when we normally, in my experience, even dealing with other counties and stuff, they dedicate, but it doesn't pull away from 911. It's additional resources that are called in from off duty. And so it's additional output or additional cost, but it is beneficial to the community and the event in those, especially if you got, 5, 10 plus thousand people out on a hot summer day. The odds of them needing us, or someone having a heat exposure or heat illness or something going on, is probably pretty high.
Yeah.
So that would be completely on them if they wanted to actually say, we want someone dedicated here. Okay, but we can figure up an hourly rate or something on that and not take away from the 911 system on that.
I could see that.
I can speak to the Mountaineer Festival. I would have no problem with you charging me, because when we had people throwing axes and chopping logs and thought my husband was going to pass out from dehydration. So yes, I would be more than glad to pay for you guys to be there.
Yeah.
So I think.
And what I've done in prior positions and locations and services is that there's different options. You can pay for one person in a QRV, you can pay for 2 paramedics in a truck, you can pay for a paramedic and a basic in a truck. There's different rates. So it's just depending what the resources are, what they want. Do they want us dedicated or not dedicated? If it's not dedicated, then my people normally love going out. And I mean, who doesn't like a good funnel cake, That's what I'm saying.
Sounds fair to me. So, it's not dedicated, you have to leave.
Yeah.
That sounds fair to me.
So,
Any questions on that? Or-
well, it's not on that, but it's on something you spoke to.
Yeah.
You were talking about, special forces team. Is that what you called it, or?
Well, special operations.
Special
division,
operations.
But yeah, there's a tactical group, community paramedicine group, and a search and rescue medical that will assist with like the mountain search and rescue group around here.
So one of the questions I had for you that probably comes into that vein of conversation is the community paramedicine program. So that would be part of what you're seeking for grant funding for that. So we would have a community paramedic and a QRV.
Yes.
That works the community, house calls, that type.
The way we're planning it and going to pitch it is to initiate is to have two full-time staff people in those positions. One would be a community paramedic that is out in the field. Another one's going to be more of a case manager role that will handle the scheduling, the phone calls and everything like that. So you got one in the field, the other one doing the behind the scenes work. That way we can see more patients in the community.
So that would cover what the previous board talked to you about when you guys came and took this, is the community paramedic program.
100%.
All right, just want to make sure I was on the same
Yes,
page
sir.
there. All right.
Yes, sir. The only other request I had was going into staffing. I told you how we're doing. We also did a trial over the past, I don't know, 8-9 months with a advanced EMT on the full-time roster. That trial, in my opinion, has went swimmingly. There's been no issues. He is actually set to test paramedic this month, and I have no doubts that he will pass that with flying colors. So that will be in the books, and we have with these upcoming interviews, if one of those spots gets filled, which I'm feeling good about, we'll have 2 positions left. And with the board's approval and with this trial done, I'd like to ask permission to at least do that one more time with one, if arguably both, possibly, of those positions, which are 12-hour positions. And I've got enough officers and training people on a daily basis to offset that. Currently, just to be FYI, they're half the time being filled with non-paramedics anyway. And on my reasoning for that is much like we've done, we've built a good relationship with the community college. We want to invest. We have, we've invested with y'all's support in a lot of the EMS students locally. And what that has done for Mitchell Medics is it's allowed us to recruit them before other counties could. And I can tell you a handful of people right off the top of, you know, just spit it out now that have told me other counties have tried to recruit them and they said, no, Mitchell gave me a shot first and I like it there. And they've turned them down. So it has paid off huge dividends. They are our non-paramedics on the roster. I would put them up against anyone else at their level right now. They're getting good experience. They're being trained by some quality staff. And like the individual that we hired during this trial period, Jackson Hensley, he was in paramedic class, and I would have no issues with that individual once he gets his paramedic treating my family. It's allowed him to propel forward. And so now once he gets his paramedic, he's trained, he knows our system, he doesn't have to be retrained, and he's good to go. He's always been supervised by an officer. And we have not sacrificed care one bit with him on the truck.
Will you remind me of what our current agreement is, Brian?
2 paramedics.
And we give you guys, we said we give you the go ahead to have.
It was till December, and then we did that trial. And then we talked about the issues with paramedic staffing across the state. Currently, a lot of places have gone away from it. I do not want to go away from it. My goal is to find us a path to get there, because when a lot of services are struggling to even staff their trucks, I mean, Buncombe runs, it's in the double digits how many trucks they run daily. And there was a report the other week, I think it's like 12 or 15. it's something around that number on a daily basis. And some of their staff were telling our staff in the Mission ED the other week that they were running 4
So,
because they couldn't find anyone to staff them.
so we let you guys do that until December, and then we stopped, and you're asking for us to pick that back up and do it again?
We haven't stopped.
Okay,
As far as full-time, the only exception to full-time has been the one individual, and he's about to test out into paramedic.
so we wouldn't be expanding it, we'd just be allowing you to replace that individual with another. advanced-
Technically, let me just be clear, it would be an expansion, and it has been because we have been using non-paramedics on the truck at the permission of the board.
So will we be expanding it further? Is that what you're asking us to do?
So, again, for clarity, we had allowed you to have one student. And I'm using that term broadly.
Yeah.
The student is
Yeah.
an advanced or a basic.
They were a student could be either, but we hired an advanced EMT that was a paramedic student in the full-time role. That has been the only exception in the full-time role that we've been done.
But now, part-time, you've been working some basics and.
Some basics and advanced EMTs. We have not gone below the basic level.
So what you're asking for now is to have the ability to have 2 students. Is that correct?
I would like to ask for the possibility of 2. I'm not 100% sold on it. I wouldn't do anything that I thought would jeopardize our quality of care. And so if I felt like 2 non-paramedics would be too much, then I would just do 1 until they became paramedic.
Well, and I know that some of the EMS peer reviews that I've been to, it sounds like there's been some staffing issues with some other, sounds like the RTS truck has struggled to be fully staffed.
From my understanding, yes.
Man, this just was my takeaway. So it don't sound like you guys have struggled as much
No.
to staff. So I'm gonna plead ignorance again. I'm sorry.
You're good.
The only thing I know is when I use the service, what the service was like for me. And, my service with Mitchell Medics was outstanding. So walk me through, if you will, what you envision those 2 advanced EMTs. How would that work? Would they be on there with 2 other paramedics, or?
They
Would
would
they
be
take the
on with
role?
1 other paramedic. And I believe, yeah, they would be on with 1 other paramedic. If anything requires anything ALS, the rules are pretty clear. If they have to be on a monitor, if they have to have an IV, large majority of the calls, paramedic rides in the back. The non-paramedic's not allowed to.
So what do we lose? Why would we not want to give you to advance EMTs? What would be the drawback of
Well,
that?
number one, the contract states 2 paramedics, so that is our goal. So anytime I do anything other than that, I'm coming to y'all beforehand. And as far as that, there's only one procedure that is questionable with not having 2 paramedics, and that is the rapid sequence intubation, where a patient is in respiratory failure, and pretty much they need an airway to live, and we have to sedate and paralyze them. And that requires 2 paramedics by protocol. That is also why we have a QRV with a paramedic staffed on it to intervene, or a flight crew or that. But that incident is very rare.
So if I was down in the gorge and was injured and I wasn't breathing on my own, I'm 45 minutes from the ambulance shed, assuming that there's a possibility I could even survive.
Yeah.
What would you all do in that situation?
With a paramedic, non-paramedic,
Yes. So if
we'd save your life. But as long as we can get to you in time, because at that point in time, if you're not breathing and you're out of it, you probably wouldn't have a gag reflex. So that skill wouldn't be applicable. So we could get it. We request additional services. Plus, with that extended carry out on that, we'd probably have additional units respond, or the QRV respond. So you'd end up with 2 paramedics there, and there would be no difference.
So let's take his scenario and go a little further with it. Say it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
This happens. Your truck with your paramedic and your advance is on the way down there.
Mhm.
How would you know if that person needed RSI before that truck got there, that you could get a QRV on the way there?
You never do. And Stephanie can elaborate to this. They tell us everything, they get informed, but sometimes dispatch isn't given accurate information. And by the time we get there, it's something completely different than what they were told and what they relayed to us. So you're never going to say 100% you can do it. But honestly, our paramedics have to be approved and meet certain requirements to be able to RSI anyway. You can't just go and RSI with a patch.
So in that scenario, the truck gets there and the paramedic deems, okay, this would be an RSI situation.
Mhm.
Would you have to call back to communications to say, can you get the QRV down here so we can do this?
There's a couple different routes. If it was me on the scene, I would call a doctor and
Go
say,
ahead
this
and
is
do it.
what I need to do.
By yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is.
So
it.
if a doctor deems appropriate, one paramedic can do this.
There are administrative codes in place for certain situations and rules. Without going too deep in the weeds.
Question. We've allowed one paramedic on a truck, one advanced, however you want to say it. If we had not allowed that, in your opinion, if you could think back, how many times we have not had 3 vehicles staffed
A
on
lot,
a 12-hour day, and if it were a 24-hour day down?
a lot. So we currently, out of 18 full-time slots on a truck, got 15 filled. One of those is a non-paramedic, so we have 14 full-time paramedics on the truck. That's not including me when I get to ride on the truck. And then on the part-time staff, I'm guessing we have probably total 20, maybe a couple more, 20 to 22 part-time paramedics is what I'm thinking. And then we have around 15 non-paramedics to 16, somewhere in there on our roster. And if they weren't on the roster, there would be a lot of patients that didn't get an ambulance.
And that's the very reason that I asked the question. Would we rather have one paramedic and one advanced to be able to fully service all 3 trucks at one time, or stick and say 2 paramedics and we can't fill trucks and we've got a down truck in a situation and EMS can't respond when they're called? You know, a good example, I'm going to refer to Miss Tanya with this also. If we're doing a transport, and transport has been an issue with the county commissioners since I've been on this board with EMS. What is Mission Hospital doing to give better transport from Blue Ridge Regional Hospital? Because Mitchell Medics is contracted for a 911 service, not a medical transport. But we as commissioners, when we talked to them about their contract, we weren't going to get in a peeing contest, so to speak, here and say, okay, this is what the contract says. We're not going to transport this patient. And I may be wrong about this, and I'll refer to the attorney, but I think a facility, the hospital, general statute or federal, must have transport available at all times from your facility. Now, I may be wrong on this. So I'll again ask you, while we're all having an EMS conversation here and we're all supportive of everything's going on, what is Mission Hospital doing to put a permanent transport at Blue Ridge Regional, so we're not pulling our EMS out of the county? That would be very helpful. I would love to hear the information to see what's going on. Because back in the day, and the base is still there at the hospital, there was staff. This has been several years ago, that was stationed at the hospital, an EMS base that was stationed at the hospital. And a lot of that was for transport. But if you could, I would love to know that information, how y'all are handling it. If there's ever going to be a possibility that we have a permanent ambulance at that hospital designated just for transport, so we're not pulling our folks out of the county.
I will say, however, I was awful happy that they didn't get our transport. I was tickled to death to see them.
So
Brother Pittman has been healed in some of his opinions from prior comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, so.
So Brian, can you elaborate a little bit on how, so what is the lowest level of service you have staffed, either part-time or full-time?
EMT.
And that is less than an advance, correct?
Yes, so
Okay.
it's you have an emergency medical responder, which is like a first responder level. And then traditionally EMT is the minimum for an ambulance certification or to work on an ambulance. That's gone away since COVID and some weird stuff. But then you have advanced EMT and then you have a paramedic.
Okay, so you have some EMTs
Mhm.
on part-time staff. And how do you utilize them currently?
They're normally second on, they're with a paramedic on truck,
Okay, and but they work on a part-time basis,
part-time.
second on the truck,
Mhm.
under a paramedic always.
Mhm.
Okay, same is true for your advanced folks, correct? They're always with a paramedic.
Correct. And honestly, from a logistical and operational standpoint, it doesn't matter if it's a paramedic and an EMT or a paramedic and advanced EMT. The paramedic pretty much has to ride on all the same calls anyway, because there's really not much in a legal sense of what an advanced EMT can ride in the back on versus what an EMT can ride back on, because it's safer just to put the paramedic in the back. So pretty much it's just doctor's appointments or discharges is pretty much what a non-paramedic can ride on.
I know, just speaking as a consumer, I would rather somebody show up quickly than I have to wait for, I guess, a more quote unquote qualified staff to come from a neighboring county to get me.
Yeah.
I'd rather be making my way to the hospital personally.
And I'll say on just a couple more closing points is that if it, as mentioned before, 100% Craig and I are willing to sit down at the table, renegotiate the contract if this is something that we see it's going to be a permanent issue. Because honestly, I would like to look long term and say, a lot of services across the country are going away from dual paramedic because they've said we can't do this anymore. I would like to keep that as the goal, but honestly, I would like a long-term contract that says paramedic is the goal on the full-time staff, but you can have non-paramedics on the part-time to help fill in and get these people experience. So when they do become paramedics and do run your families, that they've got some experience and they're not just green as grass. So they have that. So I would like to look at that long-term. And number two, on the closing points, yes, we are private. Yes, we are under contract. I have tried to be honest with this board every chance since day one, and everything I do is to benefit this EMS system and this service in this county and the quality of service that's provided in everything we do. And if I fail at my job, I know that there's an exit clause on both ends. So anything I do that doesn't look good from y'all's standpoint or is not good from the county, I know can be detrimental to my job. So just making that point.
I think I speak for everyone when we're, you know, even a reformed version of myself, when I think we're very pleased with the service that you guys provide. And I think
Thank you,
you guys have bought a lot of trust in the community as well.
Totally different.
Yeah, always positive comments. Always.
Thank you.
I've not had one complaint since you guys signed the contract. I think that's a big reflection on you.
I've got a good team.
You got a good team, but I think you're a good leader, so we appreciate what you do.
What if we allow them to do that with the time clause, kind of like we have in the past?
Do one at a time.
Go with 2 students.
Yeah, I mean, what if we grant that with,
I don't have a problem. I'm like you, I want to be picked up. If I need to be picked up. I don't want somebody to say we have no trucks in the county. It'll be an hour and a half.
yeah, and I
And I'm
could,
laying there bleeding out and I need somebody to pick me up.
Well, you know, and you look at some of these other counties and especially the big counties, and they're 30 to 50% staffed. I mean, you think about that, if that was here, we'd have like 1 truck on the road instead of 3. And how many calls and patients would be without service then? So
You need that in the form of a motion. We need to, if we need to continue to discuss this, more questions, I'm sure we'll need that in the form of a motion. Second, would that be correct? I mean, any more discussion, any more questions? I know that we've discussed this a couple times.
yes,
This is the second or third time we've discussed.
On the 2 students?
Well,
The-
this situation,
Yeah.
whether it's 2 students, 1 student, you know, whatever it may be.
and for the board's information and me, again, being fully honest, paramedic programs can last anywhere from 5 months to a year and a half.
Yeah.
So this would be a commitment. And again, I would take that into consideration. And, you know, because I've even told some of my best preceptors and officers, you know, you're going to be with them for 13 months. You being the solo paramedic on that truck for 13 months is taxing. Let's give you a break. Let's switch it up. Having to run about every single call and do the paperwork, and that gets to be a lot, even in Mitchell County.
If it pleases the board, I'd like some time to mull this over.
Right, but we do have demonstrated success. If the student you got passes the paramedic exam, that would be our first one that we allowed him to ride. And,
Yes.
and to me, you're helping us get to what we're trying to get to. So
Yeah.
that, you know, for me.
And in
And
my,
especially having that demonstrated success, I know that makes a big difference for us.
and I think that's the thing that I want to make sure everyone's clear on, both here and watching, is that my goal is to stay dual paramedic on full-time staff. But it's either, we can't start at ground level and jump all the way up to here. It's let's build steps. And so far we've been building those steps, and we're, like I said, we started at 60-some% staffing, and now we're at 97 right now, and 100% for the past 3 weeks, 97% looking out for the rest of the month. So we are heading in the right direction. Just asking for assistance to help us take those last step or 2.
I'm inclined to grant that, but I think it's always wise to kind of mull things over.
Absolutely.
And I think you guys, you know, from what I've seen, both as a consumer and as attending the EMS peer reviews, you guys are committed to providing a quality product to the community. And
We've had good support from the community and the board, so I really appreciate all that.
I personally trust you guys, but I do think it's a good idea to maybe mull it over a little bit if that.
Absolutely.
If you have anyone that we could reach out to, like another county that's doing this with 2 students? And I would love to talk to someone.
You mean just counties that hire non-paramedics?
Not really that hire paramedics, although that might be an option, but do you have like another county that you're modeling yourself after with these students?
It's a majority of counties hire non-paramedics on a full-time basis. It's actually a rarity now to have requirement for dual paramedics. But yeah, I can point some out 100%. And that's why I asked the non-paramedics, because they really don't, most of the counties that I've talked to and know they don't, they'll hire contingent that you're working on your paramedic for full-time. But there's nothing official that I'm aware of in writing, but they do that. Yeah. For clarity, that's what I meant by that. 100%, but I'll get some names. I'll get some numbers, contacts. I'll get to the board. Yes, ma'am.
For other people. Is there other people with assistance that?
I can't say 100%, but I believe so. I'm under that impression. I'll just say that. And I think that is, I think it's bunkum because of the staffing issue that they've had.
There's no reason I was thinking it was that.
I think it is bunkum.
I think Madison and Yancey both are. Madison just put on a basic truck for convalescent transport service. It's actually been doing good. I've been keeping up with it on that. Just got an update on that. So absolutely. Any other questions from the board?
Appreciate that, Dave, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep, after an hour.
Next item on the agenda this evening is our public comments. First one on the list this evening is for the Veterans Memorial at the Courthouse, Mr. Rod Sterling.
Good evening, Commissioners, and I do have to point out, I'm probably one of the most recently graduated certified EMTs here in Mitchell County, and I trained with this staff back in March, and they're top notch guys. Please go ahead and we have a handout, real pretty picture. Please don't tell my wife that you see her in the picture. She wanted me to go ahead and edit her out. So first off, I'm the hat I'm wearing right now is I'm the treasurer for the DAV Chapter 58 here in Mitchell County. DAV Chapter 58 was started in 1980. And I'd like to talk about the memorial at the courthouse. That's the very first picture. About 20 years ago, it was planned and started. Of course, Mayor Chuck Fines was instrumental, and a couple other people. When I talked to him Friday, he couldn't remember who the other people were that worked with him. But right now, the facility that we have is 20 years old. It is it's a memorial for all. Right now, there's only 5 services up there. Of course, the Space Force is fairly new. We don't have anybody there at the Space Force, but we offer, while it's a memorial, there's one large piece of granite in the center that has the Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and Air Force on there. There's probably not room on that memorial for the Space Force. But what that is it's all ground level. From what I understand, it was pretty much a temporary basis. We didn't want to do anything permanent. What I would like to discuss on page 2, I would like the board to possibly make that the permanent location for the memorial. I know there might be some ideas to expand the parking lot up to the courthouse. There's certainly plenty of room on both the left and the right side of where the memorial is stationed right now to expand the parking lot. So with that said, the DAV would like to help fund, we do have some money, so we're also providing a scholarship at Malin for books for military families. But we would also like to help fund this. We would like to upgrade and beautify the place. Again, we would like a concrete border to go around all the bricks. The bricks currently are 20 feet by 20 feet. We would like to have a nice sidewalk, and you can see on the third page, there was some crushed gravel there, not the best access, especially people wearing, high-heeled shoes. Wheelchairs don't roll over very well. And of course, Harley's uncle was really instrumental in lighting a fire under me to go ahead and get some of this project done. But we would also like to, along with the border and along with the sidewalk, we would also like to extend the length of the memorial approximately 1.5 feet. And we would like to put 6 stainless steel crosses there. The reason we would like to do that is a lot of people during Memorial Day, Flag Day, which is going to be next, a week from tomorrow, and Veterans Day, they like to go up and put their own personal little flags by the bricks. That is kind of a tripping hazard, or can be. So we would like to have a place behind the memorial where they could actually place their flags, next to one of the crosses there. The place is open to any veteran, and for any conflict, any time period, whether they're in conflict or not. The bricks we sell them for $35 a piece. That was 2021 prices. I'm sure they've probably gone up a little bit. But basically what we do is people that want a brick for a relative or a family member, they purchase the brick, they give us the application. We take it over to Newland, the places that, does stone, they engrave them, and then we contact the family once we get them back, and we have a small ceremony. We just replace the bricks. We take a blank one out and put a new one in. Right now, we're probably about 1/8 full of bricks that are printed. So that's what we would like to do. We would certainly like some help from the board to, one, help us with qualified contractors that would be approved to actually do the work. And we would certainly like help from the board to secure the permits, if there are permits involved. And thirdly, I know it would impact or impede the parking lot there in the front where we would have to do some construction. And we'd like, someone to either give us a point of contact if we're working with the contractor to coordinate with any of the work that's being done there with the courthouse, so we don't impede their daily stuff. And I also know the DSS park, they kind of go through that front area on the way back to the back building. So with that said, and with what you have, I'm open to any questions. And I do appreciate the time that you've given us to explain this.
Completely really quick, but is this your lovely wife in this picture?
That is
Okay, I
Susan in
thought
the
it was
picture.
her, but I
That is
wasn't
Susan.
sure.
How are you proposing to bring your sidewalk in? Would it come from?
The sidewalk is approximately 41 feet long, and I didn't quite get enough of a picture. It comes right from the edge of the parking lot.
Right here.
Yes, from the parking lot, and we're gonna have to, we can either do a couple things. We know, code says 42 inches wide. Of course, we have that monument right in the center. I don't know if it would look right to have a wider sidewalk, and once we get past the monument, go down to a 42-inch sidewalk to the bricks. I mean, certainly these are just some proposals that we'd like the board to think about, possibly even give permission to actually do some work. But certainly we would have to do it to some code.
And on these stainless steel crosses,
Mhm.
it's got here will be at ground level to facilitate that.
Right.
What are you proposing? Would they be closer to the monument itself?
Or
or closer down in this area?
On your picture,
Yes.
on the top picture here, the stainless steel crosses, if you're standing on the sidewalk and looking at it, all the bricks would be facing you. So your back is to the courthouse right here. What we wanted to do is extend it this way. There's a block right here in the center that says it's a memorial. So we want to extend it 18 inches this way, the whole total length of the back, and put 3 crosses on this side, 3 crosses on this side.
crosses would lay flat.
The crosses would actually stick up, but, you know, they would be as close to the bricks as could, you know. That way it makes it so much easier for the lawnmowers, the contractors. They could just zip right around that corner. We aren't going to have
Thought
this.
about enclosing that and having them encased inside.
Well, we were thinking about stainless steel because it, you know, it would look
Well, I
nice,
mean,
but
instead of having them right at the edge of your bed, put them in that bed 18 inches behind, extend your bed back 24 inches. Then make the grass in here so the crosses are freestanding, and there's no way they can mow it around.
right. Well, we want the crosses to be as close to the bricks as we
Yeah.
can, and then, you know, yeah. But, you know, that again, you know, we haven't designed anything, but that certainly would be a consideration.
Ron, thank you for bringing all this to us today. We'll definitely take it into consideration, and if there's more discussion needed, we may reach out to you to add it to agenda or something like that.
You're very welcome. And I did leave on the very front cover, that's my contact information. And again, Richard Miller was the one who got me tuned into this. And so I appreciate your time. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.
Next item on the public comment card is from Toe River Health Department. Mr. Philip Brown.
Try to make it sweet and short as possible. I've learned some good information today. I'm gonna talk about the Payson Prison, Toe River Health Department. Approximately around more or less 25 years ago, we had a meeting at Mayland Community College concerning Charles Knight back in the day. And he was an environmental inspector, come out and inspect septic tanks and various things. And he was a pain in the butt to get along with, to talk to, and reason with. And he wouldn't want you to do crazy things. And one of the crazy things back in the day they was wanting to pull was, you need a current survey before we can put your septic tank in. Well, the survey was all booked up and tied up. Well, we can't get in there for 3 whole months, you know. So that delayed progress and some other things. But we had that meeting out there at Mayland, and there's about 50 people showed up, and backhoe operators and construction people and various building contractors. And I about forgot about the meeting. To be honest with you, I got to thinking about things. We had a meeting at Mayland. But anyhow, out of that meeting, Charles was there, of course, and we had a comment like this and so on. Needless to say, I gave my 2 cents worth, and at the end of the meeting, a few days later, 2 people lost their jobs. And Charles lost his job, and his boss man lost his job. I don't know to call his name or not. I think it was Tommy Singleton that lost his job back in the day. But anyhow, reason Tommy, my understanding was, I had to call a friend, and he was pretty sure Tommy didn't have the right paperwork for his job duties and stuff. So that's the reason they terminated him. But Charles was similar to a lady we got presently working. Just different things. And I want to jump from to the present to Leslie McKinney. I was hard to do some test holes the other day. Take my backhoe down, dig a few holes, and do some test holes for my out of town client. They asked me not to give their name. I said I would. And I've done some test holes. We dug a hole here and a hole there, and I dug about 9 holes. And she approved the last couple of holes up on a hillside on a grade, about a pretty good sizable grade. And I said, okay. And I was thinking, back in the day, 2 lines, 60 feet long would be sufficient for this spot, for the smaller house they's building. They're going to build a small 2-bedroom, about 1,100 foot small house. And I was thinking, yeah, 2 lines, 60 foot line long, you know, and she wanted 2 lines, 80 foot long. Well, I talked to the homeowner later, and he had to move his house up the hill somewhat to get these lines where she wanted to put them in, and he wasn't happy about that. And I said, well, I dug some test holes up the river here down in the not far from the river, down in the black, nice soil, dirt and stuff. I said, what you might need to do is contact Leslie and ask her if you can put them down there in your bottom, in your field. And he had from his, where he's gone, he had like 300 or 400 feet river frontage there. I'm gonna say 300. To put the drain lines in. All right, we got her back over there and done some lines and stuff. And I dug 1, 2 holes for Leslie. And she was down inspecting the soil and this and that, and she asked me to dig another hole, and I dug another hole, and she's inspecting the soil and stuff, and the property owner was there. And I said, she couldn't make her mind up if it was a cluvio or luvio or something like what they call the soil. I looked at the homeowner and Leslie, I said, what's the best soil I ever looked at? You could do anything in this soil, you know. So she wanted to get the soil scientist to come out and look at this. He's gonna be out in around 3 weeks or so. So he finally got with them. He said the same thing I did. It's just perfect, perfect soil. And I kind of, you know, grinned about it a little bit when they was telling me what the soil scientist said. And he also asked, why did you dig all them holes up inside that hill? Well, I charge when I go out. It costed the homeowner more money, of course. But as a rule of thumb, it's a disservice for the homeowner. She delaying the project a month. It took approximately 2 months to get a layout on the septic system. Back in the day, I worked in McDowell County, Avery County, Mitchell, Jackson, and so on. The inspector would come out, you dig a test hole or 2 or 3, they tell you what to do, and so on. It didn't take him 2 months to do this. It took him about 30, 40 minutes, which he breeze about the birds and bees or something, you know. But anyhow, I said, things has changed. And I told the property owner later, I said, she either got some mental issues or she's incompetent. She don't know her job. Or her boss man might be putting the pressure on her to do other things. And I said, I'm not sure what's going on here. So that's the reason I'm here giving my 2 cents worth on the subject. Now, while I had Leslie there talking to her, I said, Leslie, she lives just out the road from my house, our place, property I got at the Avery Mitchell County line.
Let me tell you, typically we only hold the 3 minutes on public comment, so maybe a couple more minutes on it.
This will be great.
Thank you.
Now, this is gonna get better. I said, Leslie, I got 10 acres of property, part of it's highway frontage. And I said, Leslie, I'm thinking about putting in a couple of campers over at my property. And she said, well, you need to consult a soil scientist. I've got 5 septic systems active just right above the hill, and the soil's the same. I used to work in the mining business. I used to work for Harry Clay and Bruce Pine Olive. I know a little something about soil, plus I'm a backhoe operator. It ain't the smartest thing to look at. About 80-90% of your houses in Mitchell County is on septics. Think about it. Now you got a few in the city limits, Bakersville city limits, and Spruce Pine city limits on, you know, city sewer. But look at the houses in Mitchell County. It's a no-brainer. These houses everywhere, up on the mountaintops, down in the valleys, beside creeks, and so on. It's just little guidelines you go by. But the good news is, I heard Miss Leslie might be leaving out shortly. Her job's gonna be terminated, I think. And I hope this is the end of it. And like I say, I don't know if it's her or her boss people. Something's delaying this. And I think to myself, is Leslie that backward thinking? Or is she not caught on to the way politics work, how things work here in the business world? And I think to myself, surely she's not that backwards thinking. I know she's about the book, girl. But this is Mitchell County. This is Avery County. This is McDowell County. I've worked with all these soil scientists and health inspectors and stuff. What's the big deal? Putting in a septic tank, an eighth grader could actually do it.
Well, hey, we thank you for bringing this to us tonight. Appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna hang out a few more minutes and leave.
Thank you. Sorry to cut you off there, but I went a little bit longer than we're supposed to anyway, so thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's all we got from public comment. Next item we got 12A is the late filing application for property tax relief. Mr. Blair?
Quick and concise. We had an application for property tax relief came in the day after the deadline. The gentleman apparently was held up trying to get one of the forms back from the doctor. Can't approve it, but you can.
I make a motion, we accept this application.
So moved.
I guess you wouldn't be bringing it to us if you didn't support it.
Motion approved. School sales tax request for Cope Architecture invoices.
This is the item that was on the last meeting and it was tabled. They're requesting $259,341.72. So they, to pay Cope Architect, and they're requesting these funds from the sales tax that we are currently holding for their capital needs. I did speak with Beth today. She is going to work with Mr. Danny Young tomorrow, the previous finance officer out there, to see if they can, again, drawing from their $15 million grant. They have drawn some money from this grant prior. Now that they have the second one, there's some, she's going to verify that this is the same form they need to do and what the procedure is going to be. They have $14,641,000 left on that $15 million grant. So these funds could be paid from those, from that grant. She just hasn't done that paperwork yet to get that done, and hopefully she's going to work on that tomorrow. So hopefully future requests will not come from their sales tax.
My understanding on this one is, I mean, it takes some time. It's the end of the fiscal year.
What has to happen on that, if they get that filled out tomorrow, it has to go to their board for approval, and it will have to come to us for approval. And I did tell her that we're meeting again on the 21st. She did call Raleigh. It has to be in their hands by the 24th to get paid out, hopefully by the end of the month. They only do one payout a month. So it has to be there before the 24th.
So let me ask you the question. So if they have an invoice come in, they have to request that money from Raleigh, and Raleigh has to okay it out of $15 million.
She
Is
sends
that
a
what I'm
form
hearing?
in. If you access money from their grant, their 15 million, and I'm sure the 17 will would be the same way. There is a form that money is set in an account in Raleigh. And what has to happen, Jeff, is this form has to be completed. Their board has to approve it. You have to approve it. We send it to Raleigh. They transfer the funds from the account it's sitting in down there actually to her lottery account. And then I physically have to write a check off of that account to send to them. So it is a process. It's a multiple step process.
Okay. How much-
So
how
they,
much-
we have to get it transferred and Raleigh has to make that transfer into an account to where then the county has the authority to then write a check off of that account and send to the school. And usually what happens in the past is when I worked with Danny before, he usually would pay these out of the capital expenditures, knowing that he could get the funds that same month before the end of the month usually, and he could pay back his capital fund.
Sounds like Beth may have not known that, right? Is that,
I'm not sure, she has never done this process, and the issue is that Coke, this was the billing through the end of April, and I think Coke expects their money within, I think they said on here, it's, I don't know how many days they give them, but this was their billing through the end of April, and I guess they expected their money before the end of May. So, it's a process.
So they don't have that school construction grant money in their accountants and
No, sir. No. They have to request that money.
Is that the same thing with lottery money?
Lottery money, I think it's different. I think lottery money does go into a separate account, although lottery money is the same. It's a two-step process. She has to fill out the same form. Even if she spends any of her lottery money, they have to fill out the same form and you guys have to approve it and so does their board and it still goes to Raleigh. It really doesn't set in anything that we can access, Jeff. We have to request it, let them know what it's being spent on. It has to be approved and then we can make the expenditure.
so they're not earning any interest off that grant.
I don't know that. I don't have any idea about that. We were told at one time they were earning interest, and then I was told at one time they were not, so I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, that's where I was.
I was told at one time they were earning interest. We don't see that because we can't see that account. So what that balance is right now, I don't know, maybe Beth can figure that out once she calls somebody tomorrow. One issue with this form is this particular form is developed with the local match, and it was also developed with when the price of the school was going to be like 38 million. Now it's gone up to 45. So this whole form's got to be
23 million.
Well, this
Excuse me.
particular one was done at 38. So she's going to have to get those numbers all updated and get that sent in. It's just kind of a bad timing as far as it is the end of the year for her. And she's like, we're trying to close and balance all the accounts out to close out the end of the year. So she's kind of in a bind on this.
I just have a quick question. On this one that says
I'm very concerned.
invoice number 5, and this one says invoice number 7, was invoice number 6 for the auxiliary gym?
She didn't send me number 6. I have no idea. These
Okay.
are just the two she sent me. And that's a possibility, Harley, but I don't know that.
So I guess my second question is there a reason that this invoice for the middle school has a different project number than this invoice for the
I
school?
think one
Is
of them
one-
is one of them there for that geotech,
Yeah, one's a geotech
Okay.
invoice
right? And so
for
they-
10,939.
Right. See, that's where they've hired a supplement. See, the first one is for their design is for their design of the project. And then this other is just a supplemental where they pay the geotech. So they build that separately. That's not part of their percentage. That's an additional supplemental invoice. They contracted it out, right? So if you'll notice on that one where it is talking about the contract amount for their design services, there's a total there and they're drawing down on that monthly. They're still in the design phase.
So guys, I guess I'm gonna be the bad guy here and open the floodgates. I have a major concern. We're holding their sales tax money. They're only eligible for $40 million on a grant. Schools estimated at over $45 million. According to the superintendent of schools, they had enough money with sales tax and lottery to pay that extra $5 million plus. So we, as a Board of County Commissioners, are responsible for this payment. My concern is if we keep giving the sales tax money on the front end versus holding it to the rear end, we're not gonna have enough sales tax money, or they're not gonna have enough sales tax money to pay for this school. Therefore, we have two options: fund balance, raise taxes, get a loan. This county government, because we are responsible financially to make sure this thing is paid. And like I said, I hate to be the tail end of the horse here, dragging the wagon here, but I'm gonna be. With them with $15 million sitting out there, and I understand everything that Mavis has said. And it appears that this paperwork should have been started earlier than later, since these invoices was done in April, and here now it is in June. It's gonna be hard for me to support giving this sales tax money for them to pay this debt when they've got that money sitting there to pay for this. Because again, I'm concerned that we won't have money on the backside. And consequences are, you take the money out of fund balance, you raise the citizens' taxes for the $2 or $3 million that you need to make the payment, or you borrow money at a low interest rate to pay for this school. So it's just my concern. So now I've just put a big bullseye on my chest or my head, and that's okay. And whatever y'all decide, I'm good. But I'm gonna score.
For me, I think it's around, I feel like we're gonna get it back in the form of capital. I feel like they've gotten a situation where Beth's only been over there for how long? A month,
She's,
2 months?
not long, right before, I think Danny actually left in October, but she's new, and this is all new to her. I think they will get it back. I think these are definitely acceptable invoices to be paid out of the grant that they were funded. And what would happen is they would reimburse her for what she spent on COPE if she submits the invoices. And if I'm not mistaken, they do have to submit paid invoices to get that reimbursement if both boards approve the request. It's just a matter of timing, and then she will get that money back, and she can put it in her capital, her local capital funds. And then that would give her cash flow then to pay the next invoices, and then she would request and get that reimbursed. So she shouldn't have to ask us for any more sales tax.
Well, let me ask you one question on that, on local capital fund. What if they use that for another capital need
Well, they could.
versus the new school?
I understand they
Okay.
could. They could use that capital funding for anything that they had capital needs for. But I'm just saying it would reimburse her where she has spent out. And I understand that they've exhausted those funds. Now, I've not seen it.
So, to
They-
Jeff,
They've exhausted their fund at this point.
Couple of my thoughts are, I kind of agree with Steve, somewhat that, Danny left, and he's a 40-year veteran. He even fussed at me one time because I got a DOT physical for $75 at the wrong doctor's office. So, he was on top of his game and had tons and tons of experience. But to Jeff's point, have we approved this project and set, the amount at any level yet? I mean, do we have do we have that ability to say we're not gonna fund it over this amount?
I think as Lloyd House put this in terminology a while back. And it's like a year, I know it's when he was still before interim county manager and he was still attorney. He said it don't matter if it costs 25 million or 50 million. When you agree to it, you're responsible to pay it back, county commissioners. So no, we don't have any true documentation on what the school's going to cost because final plans aren't in. They've not put it out for bid. It's not gone any of that yet. This is $45 million and some changes in estimated cost.
And
That
they-
cost could drop. That cost could go to 60 million.
And we'd still be responsible.
We're responsible. We, as county government, will, no matter what that cost is, we're responsible to pay
We
that
have
back.
to make the payment.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
And right now, they only have what, 32 million.
32
They're
million,
still
supposed to get
waiting.
another 8 sometime next week. If that happens, it puts them $5.2 million short of projected having that money to build a school.
You know, I think irregardless of where this particular item of discussion goes and what this board decides, this board and the oncoming board, as this project moves forward, people are gonna have to sit down together. People are gonna have to sit down together and come up with cohesive understandings and all have the same goal with the same end in mind, or this is gonna crash and burn. Now, mark my word, right here, right now, it's gonna crash and burn if something goes.
And I think this board, Commissioner Grindstaff has asked repeatedly for joint meetings. Board to board. And we've not had that. We've had individual meetings, but not board to board meetings and discussions. And Commissioner Grindstaff makes a very, very good and healthy point here.
And this is Mitchell County. We can talk about county government or county schools. It's Mitchell County. And we all want the best for the county, the best for the students. And we want to move forward and be successful. But if people aren't talking and people aren't willing to come to the table and work out differences, everybody's going to lose. Everybody.
Well, I mean, I guess getting back to the matter at hand, it don't sound like we have any leverage from holding their sales tax anyway. I mean, if we're on the hook for any amount, then what would we gain by keeping sales tax from them? I guess that's what I'm driving at, like what leverage do we have by keeping it?
The goal was to have funds to either make a payment when it was originally, we were gonna build the school, it was talked about is we were keeping that because the first few years of that payment was gonna be more than they could handle without having some savings. So the plan was originally, the board decided to hold that. And then, of course, the school got put on hold and different things. So we've held this money with the thought now that the school price has gone up, that there would be some money to help on the back end. So like you said, if it's an additional 5 million over the 40, then this would hopefully be part of that, along with lottery money, which just has gotten reinstated and they're starting to collect the lottery money again, that between those two revenue streams, there would be in a couple of years enough money to pay the back end of it, the deficit, rather than to have to borrow the money.
So this loan would be preloaded, or where they had bigger payments in the beginning.
In the beginning, right, they were still making the QZAP payment, and the beginning, because you have to have fixed principal every year. And so when they were talking about borrowing like 23, when it was back at 23, and we were going to borrow 7 or 10 million, right? In the beginning years, it would have been tough. There would have been a deficit for a couple of years.
How much of their sales tax do we have right now?
Right now, we have 1.4 million. If we pay this out of it, we'll be down to 1.183. And we still have, of course, 2 more months of this year. We don't have May's or June sales tax. So actually, we don't have April, May, or June sales tax. So when we finish the year out, it'll be back up there a little bit, maybe close to even 1.4, 1.5.
What were we shooting for having initially? Do you remember, Mavis? What's possible?
No, because that was a long time ago. That was before COVID. That was before COVID, and sales taxes increased a lot since COVID, so. But the idea was the county wanted to be able to hold that money, so we would know how much they had versus when we were giving it to them every year, they were spending whatever they were given, and they really didn't have a good, we didn't have a good idea of what they had. That was the original reason they changed it.
Steve, words, what you thinking?
I think I'm about ready to put this to bed. I'm gonna make a motion. We just pay it out of the sales tax. And talk to them. I know we got a meeting with them tomorrow. A couple of us do. Maybe make the point to them that we're doing this as a favor under the guys that we know you've been this, but to Jeff's point, everything he said is absolutely correct. We're going to be on the hook for this in the back end of it. So really got to get it together going forward. And that's really the meeting tomorrow. So I hope get some traction to how do we, fund you? We want to get you guys money. How do we do that going forward and look after everybody? So I'll make that motion.
I think, let's build some bridges. I'll second that motion.
All in favor, vote the usual sign. Any opposed? One opposed. Thank you. Thank you. Item number 12C. Does anybody need a bathroom break real quick, or we'll just keep on turning through? Everybody good?
Yes.
We'll recess for just 5 minutes. And we'll bathroom break.
And you want to live.
Well, God, I got the tax monies. We've invested in some kind of new waters here, boys. I don't know what it is. I think it's a big drink. Good. We'll get that back started. Thank you, everybody, for that bathroom break. Appreciate y'all hanging in here with us. Next one is the item number 12C, recommendation for the Toe River Health Board.
Okay, guys, there are 3 openings on the Toe River Health District Board for Mitchell County. And I'm gonna bring to this board 3 names. If y'all approve that, I'll take it to the Toe River Health District Board and the Avery County Commissioner, since we are now forming a new health district because Yates County has dropped out. There'll be a new health district July 1st of this year. But the 3 recommendations I'm going to bring to you, Thomas Verla, he's a doctor. This next individual is kin to me, but I'm not making this recommendation because of that. It's Cole Phillips with an engineering degree. And Jeff Googe, owner of Googe Oil Company here in Spruce Pine. So those are the 3 recommendations that I'm bringing you to this board for approval to go on the Health District Board.
Jeff, what positions do we have left to fill? I know there's what, 11? Is it 11?
With the change in Harley of the new district, talking like there'll be 16 members, 8 from each county. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, on that. We're talking about equal numbers. The state requires certain ones be on there by their what they do for a living. We were short a doctor, and we feel that with, if you guys do this recommendation with Thomas Burla. There's also an engineer that's required on there. We currently have an engineer from Avery County on there. His term could be up in the near future because he will have met his term limit. So if Cole is approved by this board, that would give an engineer and a younger individual to gain some experience.
Who's Thomas Verla? Who is that, Jeff?
Trish, Ken Walter's daughter Laura.
Did she used to be the EDC director?
She used to be the EDC director.
Okay, so that Laura.
People's Furniture
Yeah, People's.
before it was
used to be
sold.
People's. Thomas is a Mitchell County resident. He grew up here and then went to, I believe, went to medical school and
He did.
became an eye doctor.
His father and mother both, especially his father,
Or sorry, foot doctor. Sorry.
worked for Blue Ridge Hospital in the operating room. Ken was the one that put you to sleep and woke you back up.
So what are the term limits? Is it 3 years? 5 years,
I
6
think it's
years?
longer than that. It'll be 6, 5 or 6, I think. I don't know. Sorry about that.
Chairman. Have a second.
Do you think these people are, these 3 individuals will take the board in direction, the new board in direction needs to go?
Yes, I do. If I didn't think that, Brandon, I wouldn't recommend. To be quite honest with
Fair
you.
enough. I'll second that motion.
Vote by the favor of the usual. Motion carries. Folks know that we got the 3 appointments. Next item on the list tonight is item 12D, MCC Mitchell County Board appointment.
I think with the time that it is, Chairman, I'd move that we table that appointment.
Got a motion on the floor to table it. Do I have a second? Second, all in favor? we'll table that one. Next item on the list is item number 10E, occupancy tax resolution. This one. That's it, Raheem.
So, today we had an opportunity, in talking and discussing a little bit about occupancy tax. 1987, occupancy tax, ordinance on the books, House bill, related to that. And so it's outdated, and since 1987, a lot has changed as far as rentals and occupancy tax and the whole landscape. So, Mr. Dudley Green was working up Avery County was doing. We've also been kind of working with, some of the Blue Ridge Boutique to try to get them paying some occupancy tax. So he had some wording and he come and talked to us today. And what we're looking at is bringing this, occupancy tax more in line with what the state ordinance has, the overriding state ordinance. So we've done some changes on, so I'm gonna run them by you. So, number one is, we have been paying, with our occupancy tax, 3%. So you got sales tax, which typically runs 6.75%. Then add 3% for occupancy tax that goes into tourism related, programs that were over since 87 administered via Commerce. This authorizes an additional 3% up to an additional 3%. Should we so choose to adopt it, so that will put it up to 6, which is in line with the state occupancy tax. This also has been legislatively vetted in the wording. So what I got here for you all is set to pass. Should we rearrange this a little bit? It might not make tomorrow morning's committee because it would have to go under legislative review. So we had this all developed about lunch today, so I'm working a little overtime trying to get this. The other thing this does is it takes the distribution and the use of the tax revenue and sets it up into a TDA, or Tourism Development Authority. So that could be a little different than what we've had in the past. So after a lot of review, a lot of looking at it, this revised bill to repeal the 1987 bill that's been on for occupancy tax brings the tax up to 6%. So it is a pass-through tax. When you go on vacation to the beach and you have a bunch of taxes and fees, you're probably paying a 6 to 8% occupancy tax as a tourist. That is not a local person for the most part paying this occupancy tax. So it's bringing in outside money into our county's coffers. 3% was what we had, and back this past year to date, I think Mavis was benchmarking me right around 120,000 that we had collected in occupancy tax. So bringing it up to 6% brings us up to about 240,000, and those are taxes that, you know, like I said, they're coming in from outside the area. Our tourists are paying taxes, and they're passing. So it's bringing us a little more revenue in. Does require the setup of a TDA. TDA has some requirements on there about who's going to be your boards, and it is to be spent, those proceeds were towards tourism related activities. So that's the long and short of it.
Any idea if that can be like tourism infrastructure, or is it just tourism promotion, or?
By tourism infrastructure. What would you mean? There's some examples. We got
Like the one to put like a boat launch down the river, specifically kind of things.
I don't know. There's like they do beach nourishment. So, I mean, there's a lot of leeway, and if we do some research on there's possibility. We could have, we can show it's tourism related, have a kind of good link to that. I think we can do that.
Where does all the occupancy tax at 3% currently go to?
That chamber directs those funds. Now, where they're directed and how the pots of money go, I do not know.
But right now, the chamber's collecting that 3%.
County collects.
Change with this bill to where it goes with TDA board.
You know, Mr. Chairman, if I could say, I've sit on this Board of Commissioners through 4 different boards. And from year one, this has been a conversation topic. And it's been a conversation topic around the idea that Mitchell County is leaving money on the table. We're one of a few counties that still does not collect 6% occupancy tax at minimum. Avery County has absolutely no occupancy tax as a county, and they too are working toward this. And if they institute this, we would be, if I'm not mistaken, probably the only surrounding county that does not collect the maximum of 6% allocated through this type bill. I think this is a good road to Mitchell County having more at our disposal to do more with. And in a time and period when so many people are looking for rural places to go rather than metropolitan places, this could benefit the citizens of Mitchell County as a whole. Because to the point the manager just made, 98.9% of the people that pay this are not going to be local people. So for all those reasons, and for what I think is a good move for the county, if the chair will entertain it, I would like to make a motion that we pass this and let Representative Green introduce this tomorrow.
So we got a motion on the floor to pass this resolution for Mitchell County, and which will allow the occupancy tax bill to go forward tomorrow in support for Mitchell County. Do I have a second? I've got a second. Motion and a second. All in favor, vote for the usual vote sign.
Yeah, we need to read it.
Okay. Do that, please. Okay. Okay. We got, we call for yay votes. Do we have any nay votes on that one? Is that a consensus across? Consensus, okay. Should have brought my glasses, but I'm good. I can get, if my arm's still long enough.
They're just cheap reading glasses.
Thank you. Oh, boy, it's amazing. Mitchell County Resolution, June the 6th, 2022. A resolution of the County of Mitchell to approve House Bill 1057, proposed committee substitute H 1057-C SSV XF-38, version 1, short title, Mitchell County Occupancy Tax Revision. This act shall also repeal the current local law that is in effect. Whereas the County of Mitchell is a local government that prides itself in providing quality services to its residents, businesses, and visitors, and whereas the county's capacity to continue to provide services and community needs is contingent to the county's economic resources and its ability to control costs, and whereas the County of Mitchell is repealing the 1987 General Assembly Act, House Bill 1057. Whereas this change will authorize Mitchell County to levy an additional room occupancy tax up to 3% and make other administrative changes. Whereas in addition to the tax authorized subsection A of House Bill 1057, Mitchell County Board of Commissioners may levy an additional room occupancy tax of up to 3% of the gross receipts derived from the rental of accommodations taxable under the subsection A. Whereas the levy, collection, administration, and repeal of the tax authorized by Mitchell County Revision House Bill 1057. Whereas Mitchell County must disperse this tax revenue on a quarterly basis, remit the net proceeds of the occupancy tax to the Mitchell County Tourism Development Authority. Whereas the Tourism Development Authority shall use at least 2/3 of the funds remitted for the purpose of travel and tourism in Mitchell County and the remainder for tourism-related expenditures. Whereas the Tourism Development Authority must adhere to the duties and requirements set forth within the General Assembly of North Carolina, House Bill 1057, proposed committee substitute H 1057-C SSV XF-38 version 1. Now therefore, let it be resolved that the Mitchell County Board of Commissioners approve House Bill 1057, proposed substitute H 1057-C SSV XF-38 version 1. Passed and adopted on the 6th day of June 2022. And I'll sign that. Next item we have tonight on the agenda is the consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item is item number 14, Finance Officer's Report.
One thing I like to know about, always, it never fails, at the end of our budget year, when we think we've got everything done, something blows up. So the health department's HVAC system went out last week. We tried putting a couple parts on it. It's 20-some years old. They deemed it not fixable, not worth putting any more money in it. We got rushed Friday. I found out about this Friday. Got 3 bids. Part of the bid process was also, when could you install? Because we've got the health department with some box fans out there right now. So thankfully, our lowest bidder said that he could install Wednesday morning. So we're getting that done. It's going to cost us about $6,300. So that's going to be in that last budget amendment that I have to do, because that's going to be a capital expenditure that we had not anticipated. However, this is an emergency. So we felt like we wanted to move quickly, and I discussed it with Alan, and I made the decision today and pulled the trigger, and we're getting it installed Wednesday. So, everybody okay with that?
Good call.
Okay. The other thing that I will tell you is you'll probably start seeing it in the media. Apparently, the first ranch of opioid money went out to counties Friday. I got an email and our name was not on the list. So I immediately emailed this person and said, apparently we've missed getting you something because their name's not on the list. Today, when Alan came back to work, I got him to search prior county managers' emails, and we found the email which said we were supposed to do, open a portal, put in the bank account, and do some documentation. So we did that today. And since this is an 18-year project, I did not put my name on this because I will not be here for 18 years. Christy has set up the portal and sent them the information. We have submitted everything. So I emailed the person back again today and said, we found the missing email that told us what we were supposed to do. And we have now done it today. So I don't know how long it will take now before we got our money. But I understand from the email I got Friday, if you didn't get it in the first draw, once you get what you were supposed to do done, they would be doing it on a rolling basis. So if you hear in the news that counties have gotten their money, some have, we have not. So we will continue to follow this. And I think our first deposit is supposed to be about 73,000. So we will watch the bank account closely for that to come in. Okay, so that's where we stand on that. And Miss Susan Larson did call today because I don't know, I guess she knew about some counties getting their money, because she called and wanted to know if you all had decided on how you were spending that money. And I told her no, that I felt like you were gonna put together a committee and work on that once we started getting the money and that we had not gotten our money yet, and that the first one was gonna be a pretty small deposit, so you still have plenty of time to work on that decision making. That's where we are on the opioid thing. Any questions about any other, we've got so many different parts right
Can we let that money kind of accrue and then for a few years and then spend it? I mean, 75,000 seems like a small
Well,
amount to.
that's the first deposit, then next July or somewhere thereafter, we should get next year's money. And I think it's actually, is it 183,000 or something like that? Yeah, it's a bigger chunk. This is just like for this portion. It's supposed to come in this physical year, which is about 70-some thousand, but then starting in July, they should start sending out next year's funding, which is a bigger chunk of money. So you should have $200,000 and some, and I would say when you get to that point, start,
Looking at some
Yeah.
substantial projects.
yeah, or see where you want to start spending that. You just have to be careful, because when you get loud to those, about those last 10 years, you only gonna get about $84,000 a year, so you don't want to make any long-term commitments, because you're not, that money starts, it's top loaded, you're going to get more of it the first part, and less. And hopefully the board or whatever committee makes this decision remembers that the county is spending some money now that would be eligible to be spent out of this funding, so hopefully we can use some of that money for our drug court and for our by health funding and some funding that the county actually has in their budget. Not a lot, but a little bit. And then look at other projects you want to fund. Okay, so I think you will get some requests from people to come out. If it's the needs of that. Okay, just give you a heads up on that.
Thank you, Mike. Item number 15 is the county manager report.
Interest of time, I'll just get. So folks, we're working with Mosley Architects in the process of site selection for the sheriff's department deal. So we're looking to see what our options are on that. Commission board and myself are looking at potential sites and vetting them. Sites need some level of infrastructure, municipalities, and this has been a challenge. We're also working with that Cardiff grant. We had a successful meeting with one of the grant administrators. They got some great feedback on, feel like our odds are good on the Cardiff grant for the Bakersville area recreation project that we're neighboring property here. The commission board, finance department, and myself have been very busy with the 2022-23 budget. And I'd like to say to this commission board, y'all have been very thorough and fair in making budgets. I see this as a new county. I see that decision process that you all undergo, and I do want to put that on the record. I've seen very fair and thorough discussion with this board. I want to send out appreciation to Glenda Shuffler with HR. She's been doing some hard work lately, working the head workload and things on a high level. And I also want to talk and show some express in my county and the finance department. But I'm very impressed by what they do. Finances, they work payroll, fiscal year, budget closeout, 2022-23 budget, while managing the audit and accounting for about 5 different grants at any one time. So, there's some hard work going on. Be a part of this group.
We're looking to have, I agree with you. Thank you, county manager. Anything from the attorney's desk?
Just briefly, we're on track on these foreclosures that we started.
And apparently we're going to collect some money without going through the whole process. So, well, it's, I've replaced several more farm accounts.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah. Let me dig through my- You mean this really big note that's right here in front of me?
You take the license plate.
Yeah, no, this, I think I can read it out there in the audience. Thank you, Taylor. Sorry. The Mitchell County Board of Commissioners will hold a closed session in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, number 5, part 2, to establish or instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerned the position to be taken by on behalf of public body in negotiating the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or proposed employment contract. So for this closed session, I'd ask that the board, county attorney, clerk, and Stephanie and Bryant stay for that. Everybody else is pardoned for the evening. Thank you, guys. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So move.
Motion taken, all in favor? Thanks, Meg.